All right, everyone, welcome to our Summer of Manga 2023 review. In our last episode, we reviewed about 7 pitches. Some of them were writers, some of them were artists, all very diverse, though, and lots of cool ideas. And we had a great time just kind of reviewing everything and just trying to give positive feedback, constructive feedback. So, this episode, we're going to try to do the same thing. We're going to review like about another 7 pitches. Some of them are random that we chose, and the others we ended up accepting into our final 20. So it's really exciting to be here again with you guys. I just wanted to go ahead and just introduce our list of judges that we have today. We have Fred Torninger, who wasn't on our call last episode, so I'll go ahead and let her take the floor and kind of just talk about who she is and what she's done.
Yes, hi, I'm Fred Torninger, creator of Gunhill, which just came out recently. And basically, I'm a Danish mangaka, and Gunhill is a Norse mythology manga. Yeah.
Cool. So where can someone buy Gunhill, Fred, if they were looking for it?
Well, certainly at Gosh Comics, but also at Waterstone and Amazon, Denmark.
Okay.
A bunch of places, really, right? I guess the best way would probably go to our Saturday AM page to check out all the places that you could get it.
Yeah. So yeah, we have you like Fred is saying, we have a page on the Saturday website where you could find all of our graphic novels. And Fred's is right here. Gunhild.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, this is Fred Torninger. Next up, we have Christina Onderbach, and her manga that she makes is called Grimheim, and it's in our Saturday Brunch magazine.
Yeah, you basically introduced myself already, so I don't know what to say.
Tell us what Grimheim's about. What's Grimheim about?
Okay. So Grimheim is basically a dark medieval fantasy set in a fantasy Germany, a setting based heavily on the German witch trials, mixed with some dark, gory stuff with demons and all that good stuff. And we follow a young female warrior who's basically on a quest to kill the devil who took something from her, and she's very pissed and she wants to get it back. And now she's on this deadly journey, and she meets lots of people, lots of friends, lots of enemies, all that good stuff. It's in Saturday Brunch, which means it has some like female empowerment themes. So if you're like into stuff such as Berserk or Claymore maybe, and you want to see some topics regarding, again, female empowerment and stuff, I think this would be a cool series for you to check out.
Yes, Christina is a very talented artist, and she draws backgrounds like you wouldn't believe, kind of like the Berserk. It's beautiful. Yes, and our last judge that we have today is Han Rivers, and Han was our alumni Summer of Manga. She was one of the artists who participated last year in the Summer of Manga event, and she made a short story with Vietnamese mythology, and I'll let her kind of explain what the story is about. But here you go.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Han. My Instagram handle is @piggyhammer. Yes, I had a one-shot called A Mighty Sword that was published last year in issue 151, I think, of Saturday AM. It was a big honor for me. Well, the story was about a little woman warrior that does not really talk much, who was just after a mythical sword at the bottom of this lake. But standing in her way was a kind of big and scary god that did not really take her seriously. And the story is about how she faced him, basically. It's just the first, it's just a short story. But it was really fun being able to pitch it to Saturday AM, be on the magazine, and then have the reader review coming back to me. So it was a big opportunity for me to, approach Saturday AM's audience, and learned a lot from the process. So yeah, if you are looking at the screen right now, you might see my character on the background of Summer Manga. So yeah, go read the story and maybe let me know what you think. Thanks.
Yeah, you guys definitely should check her story out. I thought it was really charming, and it had some really funny moments in it too. And I thought her story was awesome, as well as a lot of the other artists that were a part of our group last year. But thank you guys for sharing that. I don't think we talked about your guys' stories in the last episode. But yeah, if you guys want to go ahead and check out more of their stories, you can do so in the app or via our website. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. I did mention we were going to do some more pitches today. So let's see what we got here today. The first pitch we'll be looking at is from a writer, and they got accepted into our final list of 20 people. So let's go ahead and take a look at what they pitched to us. Anyone want to read this?
I can read it.
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. So, Naughty List by Phoenix Manuel from the United States. And the pitch is a Christmas themed shonen manga. Plot. Naughty List is a manga series starring a woman named Kitari who aims to get her name taken off the naughty list that she has placed on due to her time as a mercenary. The runner of the North Pole, the Santa himself, tries to find ways for Kitari to use her skills in a less violent manner, but she refuses, saying that she would be much better suited for the role as guardian. That is when Santa gets the idea to have her train with his wife and former monster hunter, Mrs. Claus, in order to hone her skills as a fighter to make her well suited for the position. Once Claus feels that Kitari is ready, she is given a new Christmas-themed outfit as well as a candy cane rifle, and is officially appointed as the North Pole's head guardian. With her new title, she and her co-workers go on many wacky adventures together to save the North Pole and the world at large from threats. All while Kitari has the secondary motive of proving both to everyone around her and herself that she is capable of change. Kitari recognizes that it will be a long road until she is happy with herself, but it is a road she is willing to walk in order to get her name off the naughty list and prove that she isn't a cold-hearted killer.
Well, that's, just reading that, it sounds like super fun. I don't know about you guys, but what do you guys think of this?
I can give some thoughts on it, or maybe Fred, if you wanted to say something. I don't know.
Sure, I can start.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like, I love that it's a Christmas theme. That's gonna be great.
Yeah.
There's some great aesthetics right there. So I think it's gonna be very fun. It's a very long story, and I'm very excited to see how this is gonna be executed in a short story, basically. What do you think, Christina?
Yeah, I completely agree. I remember when we actually read this for the first time, I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. I mean, it's just so original and, in my opinion, so fresh and unique. And I really love this idea that you have not only this cool mercenary woman, but also that Santa Claus's wife apparently was a monster hunter. Like, that's just genius. And I think this is just from a writer. Yeah. So I think this is really like giving you a good example of how creative some writers are, and maybe even how creative you have to be to really stand out, because this stands out. this is not your basic story.
Mhm.
And so I completely agree with Fred. I'm looking forward to read this. I'm curious to see how this will be executed, and I think this can be a very cool story to read.
Yeah. How about you, Han? Do you have anything to say?
I personally, for me, I think that it's a very smart way of writing a pitch when you built on. Sorry, I heard some echo. They're building on characters. Some of the characters are someone that everybody knows, but they're reinventing it. So a lot of time people, when they pitch things to Saturday AM in pitches that we have read, are creating something brand new, and it's just like really difficult to follow, and they make it unnecessarily complicated, especially for a short story. But the good thing that this person has done is that they took a concept that already existed and they put their own spin on it. So it piqued our interest. We all have our kind of, imagination of what Santa Claus is. But then we already know from this pitch that it's not going to be a traditional Santa Claus, which make us really interested in reading the story. I've said this several times, but again, a pitch's job is to raise interest, and they did really well doing that. It's not easy to take something that is already there and put a new spin on that. So I think that's a big thing to give them credit for.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And this writer did have a portfolio of work to show us, which is what we're always looking for when we're seriously considering people. Um, and according to the notes here, the interview notes, they did well when they were asked to condense down the story quickly. And that just kind of what we do is we do this thing called the 60-second method, where we ask the person to be able to condense down their plot within 60 seconds. Now, if they're not able to do it, it kind of tells us, okay, maybe this person doesn't really understand their story. Maybe there's still like things that they're still kind of developing in our head. But if someone is able to condense it down quickly, that tells us right away that this person knows the main points of their story. This person knows what makes their story interesting. And this person did a great job when they were asked that. And I also too added that they made a good job of making their story sound attractive and funny. So they really sold us on their pitch idea, and that's why we ultimately decided to go with them. Now I will say I'm excited, not to get too much into this, but like I'm curious about the monsters that this person is referring to. Like what kinds of monsters is this mercenary kind of fighting? Are they fighting like giant reindeers, like lusting for blood? Are they gonna like fight like giant penguins, or like like trolls, that like elves? Like I'm so curious to see like what kinds of monsters like this person would fight.
If there are giant penguins, I'm gonna be there. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh man, it'd be so fun. Yeah, so lots of imagination here and creativity, which we love to see. But yeah, this was the naughty list. And it got into our final list of 20 people. So let's go ahead and take a look at a group of pitches that were not selected, but I wanted to just discuss them because there's some things about it that you guys should probably be aware of when you're trying to pitch to us. So this first one that we have here is called the Alpha Star, and since Fred read the first one, Christina or Han, do you want to read this one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
sure.
do it. Oh,
Oh.
okay. Christina, you go.
Okay. So the story is called Alpha Star. The pitch is Dragon Ball meets Static Shock. And the plot is the short story starts in the year 1990. An enormous explosion occurs at the Illinois, is that how you pronounce that? Illinois research facility. The radiation is released into the atmosphere and spreads across the world. This event come to be known as the calamity. I think they mean calamity, whatever. 30 years later, a rise in the appearance of superhumans occurs worldwide. In present day, you meet a young alpha boy named Ray who lives in this supernatural world filled with these super beings known as alphas. Ray meets up with his friend and goes out to eat at a restaurant. The restaurant is attacked by evil alphas who threaten to kill the owner, who's a human. Ray and his friends use their powers to defeat the evil alphas, making them retreat. The story ends with Ray and his friend leaving the rescued restaurant. Okay.
Christina, let's stay on you. What do you think of the story?
So I appreciate that they actually walk you through what they assume would be the short story. Like they say, this is the beginning, like this is a setup. We are in a restaurant. This is the climax, the middle with the demons, I guess. I just call them demons, attack. And then we have the end where everything is, the demons are defeated and we rescue the day, basically. However, to be completely honest, I think this sounds very bland and really, really basic at the end of the day. I don't think the introduction is necessarily like I understand why you put it in there, but at the end of the day, for a short story, it's not important to me why these creatures exist or like what exactly happened in the year 1990. I think this you can add this obviously in the short story itself, but I don't think for me, reading this pitch, this is necessarily. I think to me it's just not really standing out. Like it seems very basic, and I think basic stories are not like a no-go. I think basic stories can work better than overly convoluted stories. But something needs to, like what Hans said, a pitch needs to be interesting, and this pitch is not really like making me wanting to check out the story. It's more like, okay, unless you have like super, super cool artwork or maybe some kind of interesting twist, I don't think this would be a story I would like be dying to read. Yeah, that would be my thoughts.
Yeah, I would just say, yeah, like a lot of the beginning of this plot seems like it would be exposition. So like you would take a lot of the short story kind of just explaining, hey, there was an enormous explosion in 1990, there was radiation released into the atmosphere that spread across the world. This is what the event was called, and 30 years later, we had this happen, and then here's what's happening today. So it's like I feel like you would need to take a good portion of your short story to just kind of explain the like exposition and stuff. And you have to be very careful with that, especially if you're doing a short story, because I feel like people's attention spans aren't they don't last that long. So like you have to get to the heart of the story right away. You have to get to the action of the story. Like if you spend too much time explaining the exposition, explaining the buildup of the story, you're gonna lose people's attention and interest. So that's my only thing with this plot. But Fred, what do you think about the plot?
Well, it is basic, like you said. Like there's only one thing about it that to me stands out, and it's an unfortunate thing. The word alpha. To me personally, it's become quite a loaded word. I think about like wolf porn and Andrew Tate, and that's not what I want to think about when I'm reading and trying to get interested in a pitch. And that doesn't mean it can't work, that you can't turn it into something else that's cool. but the pitch certainly isn't grabbing me. And like Christina said, unless you have great artwork or examples of comic pages that are really well told, that makes me believe that you could take this really simple story and make it awesome, then I don't really have anything much to go off of.
Yeah, Han, I'll let you kind of share your opinion as well while I'm pulling up this person's art.
Okay, I'm going to say that I have absolutely no problem with a basic story. And I think everybody have said the same thing here yesterday as well. Well, sorry, in the first part of the stream as well. The thing about pitching here is that it's a test of your ability right away. It kind of reflects on you as a person. So as a writer and an artist and future author. So when an editor read your pitch, they already start imagining your story. Now, there will be so many people pitching basic story ideas, right? So if you're going to pitch something basic, just know that you're going against a lot of people doing the same thing. So you need to get to your twist right away. A lot of the pitches that I read this year, basically the setting up of their premises can be explained in 5 words, but they would spend like sentences or sometimes paragraphs to set that up. Yeah, that's fine if you're trying to pitch a whole series and you need to do world building and everything. You're pitching a simple concept, basic story idea that's been done several times before. You need to get to it quicker than that. So with this one, if I were doing it, I would say very quickly, in a world where there are mutants, because that's basically it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right.
this boy is having a meal with his friends or something, and then I'll get this steak right away. Maybe one of his friends was grabbed by one of these mutants unexpectedly, or something like that. Still, again, very basic idea, but at least it got to the point right away. And then he can set up something more interesting. What's at stake? The entire thing here is telling a very basic idea that tells us nothing about what he cares about. There's no reason for me to root for this person. Why? Why do I want to root for this person? And when this is drawn out into a story, if it gets selected, for example, we expect to see maybe in the very beginning of the story already a fight scene. Perhaps that's the only way you could like capture someone's attention if you have such a basic story idea. So it's not bad, but it needs more work.
Right. And I pulled up their Instagram too. Just looking at their work, obviously, this artist looks to be like a newer artist. There's some things that they could work on with their anatomy, especially. Their poses look to be a little stiff. I don't think their character designs are bad though. I like the character designs. I think this person has a charming style of art. But I will say that's probably the noticeable thing that we see that could be that's an issue. It's just the art is not quite at a level that we were looking for Summer of Manga. So I mean, what do you guys think of the art?
I agree with you on a lot of it. I just really hope that this artist is gonna keep working on that craft, keep improving, because I also really like the designs. I think the clothes they're wearing are so cool, and I see a lot of differences in the designs. So if they just keep on, like if they keep working at it, they're gonna be a great artist someday.
I agree.
And of course, I want to see that happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. Did anyone else want to add anything or?
You can see the Akira Toriyama influence all over this, and they did say that their pitch is
Yeah,
Dragon Ball meets Static
true.
Shock. So
Hmm.
you could see it, but there are lots of people with the same influence. I think last year you have one summer manga participant that has such a similar style to Akira Toriyama as well, and his dynamism is much further away from where this artist is. So yeah, this artist probably will need to show a bit more consequential art and like dynamic fight scenes next year if they are going down to going down this route again to pitch to us. There is a lot of improvement that's not gonna need to be made.
Okay. Okay, yeah, all fair, all fair. But yeah, I agree with your guys' points. This wasn't a bad pitch. It just needs some work, you know. It needs some work with the plot,
Yeah.
and the art needs some work. But um just like with any other pitch that we review, that was not accepted, you know, we feel like this person is totally capable of blowing us away next year, if they keep improving both their art and their writing. But that was Alpha Star. Thank you so much for submitting to Summer of Manga this year. Let's go ahead and let's review the next one. It's called One Fifth Hero. I'll go ahead and I'll read this one. The pitch is Go Go Loser Ranger meets Siren. Um, I'll just say right off the bat, I have no idea what Go Go Loser Ranger or Siren is, and I apologize. I'm not like there's a lot of things out there that I don't know, but I will say when the pitch format is good, is exactly what we're looking for, but I would say when you're doing your pitch right off the bat, try to choose two series that are very well recognized um by a lot of people. Like when you say Go Go Loser Ranger, I'm not sure a lot of people know what that is. I mean, I could be wrong, but I would like try to choose series that a lot of people know about, like Indiana Jones meets uh Naruto, or shoot, like what we do a lot, Batman meets Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, have you guys heard of any of these two series before?
I might have heard of the first one, but I agree with you. It doesn't really work if the people reading your pitch doesn't know it.
Yeah, but let's still read the plot. Let's see what the plot says. In the far future, mankind has invented superheroes. For years, all seemed fine until a failed experiment, a powered being deemed too dangerous, has escaped and plans to eradicate all non powered humans and rebuild the world in his image. The strongest hero is dispatched to defeat him but is killed in battle. As a last resort, they send Naira, a teen girl who lacked the aptitude for powers, to the past with a tool capable of giving its target all of the abilities of their strongest hero. Her task: find the hero when he was young, bestow his powers upon him, and help prepare him to face this threat. One problem: she accidentally fires the tool at a table seating the younger version of their hero as well as his four friends. The powers now split between the five of them. Now Naira must track them down to teach them control of their powers and prepare them for the looming threat. Um, well, there's kind of a lot to say here. I will say, I'm having a little bit of trouble following the flow of ideas. Now it could be partially just the grammar. Um, I'm kind of confused. I feel like this person is kind of jumping between ideas. Um, I also feel like if this is kind of like the end of the pitch, you know, like where's like where's the conflict? You know, like Naira is I guess she's having to train this guy to help him defeat um this danger, this failed experiment. Like she's trying to help uh these people kind of like train to defeat the, you know, the threat, but like I kind of want to see the battle. I want to see them fight. I want to see all of her hard work, you know, put into this guy or this group of people. You know, I want to see that fight. So I kind of feel like I'm left like on the cliff as far as like the plot. Like, you know, I want to know more. But what do you guys think?
I think one of the problems for me is not necessarily that there's not any conflict. Like for me, the conflict is actually quite clear. The problem is that this paragraph basically is just the setup for the actual story. I think that's my problem. Like this is basically the backstory to lead us to the story, in my opinion. Like the story is about Naira tracking down these, I guess, heroes now to help them, you know, prepare to, you know, fight the evil and save the world. And the problem is that this is not a story. That what this person wrote down is maybe not necessarily the story. It's the setup, and so it feels not really satisfying as a story. And maybe, Jackie, this is why you said there is not really any conflict, because the conflict is just happening. Like this is a setup. This is maybe what you would tell in like 2 pages before, to have, you know, explain to the reader what is happening like now in the story. Now we get to the story, and I think that is the issue here for me. And obviously I don't know these 2 properties for the pitch, so I have no idea what they're referring to. So yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Han?
She said it perfectly. I literally had nothing to add. I was like sitting here like nodding. You can't see me, but I'm just nodding to it. The other thing is that, oh my god, grammar and like typo. Please don't, like, why you're a writer. Like, I mean, this Grammarly or something like that to like double check your pitch before you send, please.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, either that or get a friend to proofread it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's actually a great idea. I tell a lot of people before they pitch to Summer of Manga that you should have someone look over like your art, look over your pitch, and give advice, give feedback. You know, because there might be some things about your pitch that you don't notice that another person would notice, like, hey, like this doesn't make sense, or hey, how this would work. You know, how does this work? And that person will be able to provide good feedback for you. Um, I ask people to get feedback on my comic too, and my stories usually end up being so much better after hearing other people's perspective. So, what do you think, Fred, about this pitch?
So can we agree that a pitch isn't supposed to tease? You know, it's supposed to tell the basic story for us. Like, it doesn't sound like the full story. It's you know, it kind of needs a beginning, middle, and end, so that we have any idea of what the story is gonna be like. Like this isn't a teaser.
Yes.
So just don't keep secrets. And I guess there's also no portfolio link, which is not great.
Yeah.
If we want to have any sense of your skills.
Exactly. And that was probably the biggest reason why we rejected this specific submission, is because there was no portfolio link. Now we have people do this every year. You know, they'll pitch us something and they won't link us to their art. They won't link us to their, you know, any of their sequential art that they did. There's nothing there, so it's an automatic rejection because how are we going to feel that your story is going to look good and sound good if we have nothing to base it on? If we don't see that body of work, we can't
Yeah.
just blindly trust your ability to be able to tell a good story. We have to see proof that you're good, that you have talent. So unfortunately, that's why we had to reject this one. But I did want to bring it to attention, to kind of discuss this one. But hopefully this person next year will have something that we could look at, have a portfolio that we could view, and they'll pitch us something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end as far as a story. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's move on. This person here is called Startown. And I'll let one of you guys read this one. Who didn't get to read yet?
Me. So I'll claim this one because it's short.
Okay.
Yay! Brilliant. Okay, so Startown is the name of the story. I like it. Right, the pictures, magical boys. Ooh, meet space. And the plot is Donovan is a normal high schooler until he meets the new kid, Eric, who has no understanding of basic things, but is overall friendly. After a meetup in the woods, they find an alien man inside of an arcade game machine and get sent into space to fix some alien trouble.
Interesting. Okay.
Wow.
Well, what do you guys think?
Again, it's not very specific.
Yeah, like specific in the sense of like what trouble they're gonna like try to fix.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what alien trouble is at the end? I don't really understand. But
Yeah.
like, it sounds interesting. Like it could be interesting.
Yeah. What is the trouble that they're fixing for this alien? I mean, I can see the beginning there. Donovan. He meets this kid named Eric in the woods, and then they find the alien in the arcade machine, and then they're sent off to space. So okay, it sounds like there's a beginning there, and there's a plot is like I'm sorry, a conflict is being set up. The alien has some trouble, so they're sent off to space. Okay, but like Fred is saying, like where's the end? Like what problem are they fixing?
You don't
Yeah.
you don't have to keep secrets from us in your pitch.
Yeah.
To me, it just sounds fucking random. Like everything sounds so fucking random. Like he meets a kid, then they go into the woods, and I look. This was the part I was curious about. After I meet up in the woods, and I was like, I really want to. I want to know what they did in these woods. But okay, they find an alien man in like arcade game machine, and then they go into space. Like this is amazing, but I have no idea what I actually read. It sounds so random, and yeah, I think that my problem is just, again, it sounds too random for me. I don't really see a story. I see ideas kind of brought together, but they don't really align with each other, and it's all a bit messy for me. But I applaud for the creativity because it is creative.
Yeah, it is creative.
I like it. I would say that I like it, and I'll tell you why. I like it because it's short enough that and it's understandable, but it needs work. It needs a hell lot more adjective to describe to us what's happening. Because like a boy who doesn't know a lot of things but overall friendly. That is not a very eloquent way to describe your character. So maybe you replace it with ignorant, I don't know, but charming, I don't know. It's just a few suggestions, but basically Mark Twain said that, you know, writing is easy. You write it and then you cross out all the unnecessary words. And then, you know, in my opinion, you add the describing ones that help your reader. And again, spelling inside, really, like, that's such a basic word. I'm sorry. And also,
You've been a teacher once, right?
yes, I was a teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Taught like many different levels, like from kids to university students. So yeah, no, I can tolerate that. But you're doing something professional. Have someone review that. I'm sorry. And also the words and then arcade, that doesn't make the connection. So maybe help your reader a little bit. I'd say that you had my attention, but if you, like my teacher self would say, yes, great try. This is a B plus, not an A, and we're looking for A plus.
Yeah. My advice for this person, like we kind of said in the beginning, you know, just next time you pitch to us, just make sure just to give us a little bit more information about like the story, like what happens at the end, what you know, what the problem is that they're trying to fix. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out their art really quick. I'll bring it up here. Okay. This is their art. Wow, their art is really good. I mean, what do you guys think?
It's cute. I can see how it would fit a random story like this.
What do you think, Christina Han?
I would agree. Oh, sorry, Han.
No worries, go on.
I just wanted to say that, I mean, it's a super cute art style, and I also really like the name they put on the Instagram. This has nothing to do with the art abilities, but the name is just really good. But yeah, I mean, it looks cool, but oh yeah, there are like manga pages too. Okay, I think they benefit from having their work in color, because I just see a black and white manga page, and I think the colored ones are better. So they should, in my opinion at least, definitely stick to coloring their work. I think it makes it stand out more. So yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of personality in the coloring.
Yeah.
For me,
I'd like this.
For me, I'd like to see much more zoomed out, because this person's comfort zone is probably around, you know, the face and, you know, half body up. And you don't see a lot of full scene or zoom out scene. And I'd like to see that more. And you need a mix of that to make good comics. Just look at Fred's work, like her Gun Hill. You know, you see a lot of like different angles, and it's very dynamic. And it's, you know, it's also not drawn in a super like shonen style. This is like, you're encouraged to like have your own style, but like make it more dynamic. Don't just zoom into people's spaces. So I think I'd need to see much more of that in here. And Christina pointed it out as well, like the black and white monotone pages are not as attractive as the colored work. So that's definitely something that the artists need to work on. The use of tone, the use of, I don't know, line, weight, all that. Needs
and backgrounds.
And background, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
The dreaded word.
Yeah.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, like this page, for instance, I like this page. You know, I feel like this artist is talented. You know, I like their coloring a lot. There's some things with the anatomy that could be improved on, but like you guys said, I think the biggest thing with this artist is just giving more dynamic angles and perspectives. But I agree with you guys. I do think that their colored comics are better than their black and white comics from what we could see on their page. Yeah, no, I could see why we chose this person just based on talent. They have talent artistically. As for their pitch, I don't think this is a bad pitch. It just there were other ones that kind of outshined this one, so we didn't take this at the end of the day. But we appreciate that this person uh, gave it their all, just like everyone else here, and that's what we like to see. So let's go ahead and let's move on to a couple of pitches that we have here. Now, these pitches specifically, we accepted uh, initially into like, because we had like 400 submissions and we cut our list down to 60 people. And these 60 people, we thought they were very promising. We thought their pitches were promising. But we kind of left it as a question mark because we weren't sure of a couple things, or there was some things that we were like, I'm not sure if this person will make our final cut, but we'll keep them as a maybe. So this person specifically and the next pitch, they didn't make our final cut, but again, I just kind of wanted to bring it to your guys' attention so we could just review it. So let's go ahead and let's read this one. This pitch is called Crescent Revengers. And does anyone want to volunteer to read this?
I think this one's on you, Jackie.
Me? Okay. Sure. I'll go for it.
I can.
Okay. So the pitch is futuristic dystopian Naruto meets Drifters. Interesting. Okay. The plot. Crescent Revengers takes place in the year 2205 in New Orleans, where technology and ancient African traditions seamlessly blending together. Interesting. Okay. The story begins with a dramatic scene of Marie Laveau. I'm sorry. It sounds French, and I'm butchering that. I know I am. The famous voodoo queen performing a ritual that will change the course of history. Fast forward to the present, and the city is under threat from a group of invaders or antagonists that have not been named who want to exploit its rich spiritual energy. Narat, a young voodoo practitioner of a long family of practitioners, some of whom were affected by the actions of a mistaken deal Marie took with ancestors of invaders, and a skilled hacker, must team up with a group of talented voodoo other warriors to stop them. As they delve deeper into the conspiracy, they must confront their own demons and come to terms with their place in the rapidly evolving world. The invaders preserved Marie Laveau to harness her powers. The antagonists include demons that possess humans, the undead, mythical gods, and other respective regions. All protagonists say, "May the divine guide our thoughts and actions," highlighting the importance of spirituality in their fight. As the story unfolds, Narat and the group must use their combined skills and knowledge of technology, Odin, and warrior skill training to protect the city they love and restore balance to the spiritual forces at play. The story ends with a powerful message about the circle of life and the importance of preserving ancient traditions while embracing technology. The story of Narat and the Crescent Revengers is a story about hope, faith, and the power of the human spirit. It is a story that will inspire readers of all ages. Whew. Well, I
Wow.
that's a lot. I liked the beginning. I liked the idea of the world. But as I was reading this, I kind of lost the point of the story. There's a lot of things that need to be explained, and I just kind of got lost, honestly. I don't mean this in a bad way. I couldn't keep up with it. I think as I got to like this part right here, I couldn't remember like the connections and stuff as much anymore. Now I like the idea of the voodoo thing, in the African traditions, being kind of combined into like a futuristic world. I really like that. That's super interesting to me, but I just kind of got lost in just reading this. It's a little too complicated, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's cool. I can imagine this been a really interesting novel. I don't know about short story though. It doesn't read as a short story. Just this massive paragraph.
Mm-hmm. Han, what do you think?
Honestly, I don't know how it made it through to interview stage. Because I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't, especially coming towards the end as well. I kept reading it, but I still don't get it. I think, like you said, Jackie, a lot of people will really appreciate the the use of voodoo, the thought that these people have, African traditions in there. And that is something that Saturday AM seek to highlight, to give a voice to. And perhaps that is the reason why they got given a chance to tell us more about the story. However, I'm dizzy just reading from it, honestly. So and also, if you can't convince an editor or whoever reads your pitch that this is actually a story and not just a blob of like a lot of words thrown together, a lot of concept entangled with each other, I don't think it's a very wise way of pitching. There is an exercise, if I may pitch a challenge to this person: condense your story down to one line. Can you do that? Because if you can't, then it's I'm not making this up. This is a very popular exercise that all writer practice, just to see if they got their plot, and if they have to do an elevator pitch with a publisher, for example, for 30 seconds, 1 minute, how are you going to do this?
Yeah.
And I'd like to see them, do this. I didn't do the interview. I'm sure they were asked the same question to condense it down, and I'd be interested in hearing how they condense it down, because I still don't get it. Maybe I'm just thick.
No, you're not the only one.
Can I maybe?
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, you're not the only one, Han. But yeah. Christina, what do you think?
Yeah. So first of all, I completely agree with what everyone has said. But the thing is, when I read the story, you know what story it actually reminded me of, kind of? I was thinking about Oblivion Rouge, because I think like the whole idea of this futuristic dystopian world mixed with African elements, I could kind of see that with Oblivion Rouge.
That's
as
true.
well. However, and the thing though is Oblivion Rouge is a very complex story. It's not necessarily convoluted, it's just very complex. And so whenever for example, I read an issue of Saturday PM, the seinen magazine we have, I always know that I need to take my time to read Oblivion Rouge, just because Pop puts in so many amazing and well thought out concepts that I just need the time to really process everything. And I think this is kind of the same thing here. Because as far as I can tell, this person wants to tell a really deep and meaningful story. And I think that's commendable. That's great. But it's, I think, too convoluted, too complex for a short story. And also, Jackie and everyone else, if you read the interview notes, like even in a like given 2 times to actually like explain the story, or like in a very basic way, they couldn't. And it said that the artist or the writer only talked about the ideas behind the story, which is usually kind of a sign that you're not really focused on the story yet. You're more so still in the world building phase, so to speak. Like you're still world building, you have all these great ideas, but having great ideas, unfortunately, is not the story. The story is if you can tell me what's happening from point A to point B to point C. And so I think that's just what I would say, that I think this is just way too convoluted and complex, maybe even for the writer to understand it himself. And I don't want to like assume that the writer is not capable to tell such a story. I think they can, but like Hans said, maybe use this exercise and try to condense it in like one sentence. if you have a good story, or like if you have a clear understanding of your story, you should be able to do
Mhm.
that. So yeah.
That's interesting. Like even One Piece can be condensed down, and that's the longest manga ever. So
Yeah, because
Yeah.
One Piece, all in all, is very simple. Like it's a group of pirates who want to find the One Piece. That's basically the story. And it's just, I think, and you know, I don't want to hold you guys up with this, but this is what I was thinking about just now with Fred's manga, Gunhild. Gunhild is also very simple, but you can always see in her chapters that she has a very good understanding of her characters and of the world. So she brings in a lot of like this lore and these little nuances with the characters. There's one character in Gunhild I really like, and she, you know, Fred, you threw in such a amazing twist to the character in a very simple way, and that was
Thank you.
because you know your characters and you're capable to tell me who the character is in a very basic way, but you don't, you know, when you talk about Gunhild, you're never like, oh, we need to get into Norse mythology that much.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if in my pitch for Gunhild, I went into everything about Norse mythology and all the character backstories. I don't think I would have gotten through either.
Mhm.
I mean, Norse mythology is crazy, by the way, so it would take a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about picking and choosing what to emphasize and then how you say it. I feel like because it makes all the
Yeah.
difference, you know.
Yes.
It really does.
And once you get more confident, just a final note maybe, but once you get more confident with your story and you know your characters, you know your story, you will be able to condense it in like a short amount of pages or like sentences. But that takes time, and I think maybe this person has a lot of interesting ideas that just need the time to really develop the story, not just the backstory.
Yeah.
yeah, and also, can I just say
Of course.
something that like we're looking for? Yeah, well, that's a long game. Showing the culture side of things, showing the concept, everything that sets you apart culturally. That's a long game for a series.
Yeah.
It's not the short story. Read your assignment, know what you're asked to provide, and like know what you're capable of as well. I'm not saying this in any mean way, but you have to be very strategic when you pitch to things. Your publisher, like they ask you one thing, they ask you for a short story, then pitch a short story. They're not asking you for all your concept and the amazing idea behind that. That comes later.
Mhm.
It's not that they don't care. That comes later. They care about the story, like Christina said.
Right.
So yeah, that's the last thing from me. I
Yeah,
promise.
you're good. You're good. You used your green card, Han. You saw your chance and you're like, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna use my teacher's experience. Here are my comments here. That was good, Han. I like that. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, that was Crescent Revengers. Again, you know, this pitch didn't make it to our final top 20, but at least you guys can see now like a reason why we didn't end up going through with this. But let's go ahead. We have one more pitch that didn't quite make it either. So let's give it a look and see what happened. We have a story called The Process of Collapse. Christina, would you be so kind
Ooh.
to read this?
Of course. So that's a very cool title, Process of Collapse. So the pitch is John Wick meets Cowboy Bebop. Okay. And the plot, the underworld of Katia City is more than just an elusive network of crime. It is an alternate dimension of reality living in parallel to the civilian world. For most citizens, this invisible city will always hover just beyond their perception. But an unlucky few are privy and fated to endure the process of collapse, through which they assimilate to the underworld and renounce all memory of their former lives. June, a civilian waiter, secretly gathers intelligence about this reality from underground travelers who frequent his diner. In the final hour of his shift, he recalls his other brother Victor, who recently collapsed and severed all ties with him. So, okay,
Yeah.
thank you. When underworld criminals stir up trouble, June intervenes and resolves to kill them, revealing that he too has always been his fated to collapse. In the bloody aftermath, he realizes that he somehow retained his memory and ventures to confront Victor, or at least whoever his brother has become. Okay.
Interesting. Very interesting. What do you think, Christina?
Can you maybe go first, because I need to reread this for myself, because I kind of
Yeah.
blanked out, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, I didn't
Kinda.
understand anything either. I need to read this too.
Yeah.
See? Such as me.
So maybe it's a problem with the pitch.
Yeah. So when I saw this pitch, I think actually, yeah, I actually interviewed this person. So like when I was reading their pitch initially, I was a little bit confused, because it does seem very complex. Like some of the ideas seem complex. So, you know, it says what is a collapse exactly? A collapse is a process which someone is assimilated to the underworld and they have to renounce all of their memory of their former lives. So I guess that means essentially
So
they
it's
go to
like
hell and then they like lose all of their memory. I guess that's kind of what that is.
Yeah, it's similar to dying, isn't it? Like,
Right. And
is
Oh.
basically you go to the underworld and you don't have any contact with your family anymore, and you don't even
Oh.
remember them. I guess so
Okay.
that you can move on.
right. And it says right here,
Oh,
the
okay.
main character is a waiter and she's trying to gather intelligence about this collapsing thing. She's trying to learn more about it from the underworld travelers who frequent the diner. It says right here they recall Victor, who the brother who recently went through this process of collapse, and they severed ties with them. When the underworld criminals stir up trouble. Okay, I guess there's criminals. So when there's criminals, they stir up trouble. June intervenes and resolves to kill them, revealing that he too has always been fated to collapse. In the bloody aftermath, he realizes he somehow retained his memories and ventures to confront Victor, or at least whoever his brother has become. So it's not a bad idea. It's interesting. It's a little bit too complex, I feel like, for people to fully understand what's happening. I mean, just look. I mean, we all had to kind of reread this plot just to try to understand what it was. So if that says anything, you know, you might have a little bit. It's not a bad idea, but you just might want to like explain it maybe in simpler terms. I would say. I mean, what do you guys think?
Can I maybe add something?
Of course.
Yeah, and maybe Han, maybe you can speak to that as well. But I was just thinking, because you explained, Han kind of explained that this is basically about people dying, I guess, or going to not hell but the underworld or something like that. But like the second sentence already, for most citizens, this invisible city will always hover just beyond their perception, but an unlucky few are, private and faded, yada yada. And I'm like, this sounds very complex and maybe overly so, like overly complex, overly convoluted. And maybe Han, you can kind of confirm that, but I have the feeling that sometimes people will use more, like, to sound more eloquent, they will use fancier words in the hopes that the whole story sounds more interesting and unique and fancy. I don't know if this is the case here. I could be wrong, but it sounds like, to me, it feels like this person used a lot of like these very fancy and big words just to make it sound more, honestly, more important or maybe more unique than it really is, or more special than it really is. But I don't know.
It certainly is really hard to pick out what is happening. So to me, from my point of view, it seems like they have the normal world that we all live in, the world that the story is set in, and then the underworld. And
Oh,
then
okay.
and then people can, it seems like people who have visited the underworld can come back to the world that the story is set in. And then, but the only difference is that they now don't have any ties with their family and friends. Oh my God, this is like, people who join Scientology. They
True.
Cult.
you still, you're still living, but you don't have any ties with your family and friends. What stands out to me is, what's the point? Is this a story about family? Is this a story about preserving memories? What is it about? Because going through trying to pick out all the ideas and trying to summarize it, you don't get the moral of the story, right? Because this person, the waiter, had a fight with underworld traveler who came back, who has server tied with their family and came back. And I guess he died too. He collapsed too. But then it turns out he retained all his memory, and now he wants to confront his brother, who suggestedly from the story doesn't have memories of him anymore. But what's the point? Are they going to reunite with each other? Yeah. So what's the moral of the story? It's very interesting. I'll give you that. It's very interesting, but again, not a short story. Because a short story, at the end of it, you need to be able to tell the moral of the story. What happened? How was I moved? I was moved by this because I was busy trying to understand the world. And I'm still, I apologize in advance to the author if he's reading this, because I might have completely misunderstood what he's trying to say. But if 4 people in an editorial team that have reviewed 400 other pitches can't, I mean, there's some work to be done.
Now, I will say I did interview this person, and to their benefit, they were very, very good. They like A+ the interview. Like, I'm serious. They were like probably one of the best people I interviewed. Otherwise, I wouldn't have noted that that they're, that when they pitched it to me, like, it worked well. So I did know, their story seemed complex. Now the artist was able to condense their story down very quickly when they were prompted. So that, that immediately told me, okay, yeah, maybe this story that they're pitching is a little too complex, but they seem to have a good understanding of what their story is, and they're able to condense it down very quickly. And I also noted that they explained to me very charmingly, like, why I should be excited about their comic. So they were very good at convincing me that their story was interesting, and why I should get excited about it. And I noted that in the interview. I even said I feel like this person would be good to go for the event. Now, the only thing is, because I believe I was interviewing them along with like other people, like back to back. So I didn't get a chance to look at this person's art, and I noted that here. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at their art. Okay, so this is their artwork. I'm seeing a lot of what do you call it? Portrait art. Yes,
Close-ups.
close-ups. Yeah, this isn't bad. The coloring is good. The art is good. Um, what do you guys think? Looking at this,
It's stiff. But
stiff.
I agree that I like the coloring and designs.
Yeah.
Don't care. I don't think the grayscale is too good. Could probably work on that.
I think it's okay. Like I could see this in a comic. I think this would like I would be fine with this personally. Like I think that's good.
Yeah, it's mostly the other
Yeah, I
one.
mean
I don't know. I think that's just something with the values.
it
It
could
could be a
be the
bit stronger.
values, but this person is talented with their art. Would like to see uh more perspective. I'd like to see more of the body. I'd like to
Yeah.
see maybe like foreshortening or even background art. Like I don't really see that much background art. Um yeah, I don't really see any background art at all. Maybe this one right here and this one, but um that's probably what I would say. Let me pull up because I have a second link here. They do have a comic that they made, so let me pull that up, and I'll let Christina uh comment on what she thinks of this, and then Han, you could add in whatever you want.
Yeah.
But here's their comic. Um, what do you guys think?
Yeah. Uh, so the thing with webtoons is that I'm never really a big fan of how you have to scroll down to read the comic. Um, so I can see a lot of close-ups, and I'm not really impressed with the backgrounds. I know backgrounds are hard. I know that, but it seems to me that these backgrounds seems like they're either very simple or like with this one. I mean, this is literally just a photo, and I wouldn't want my comic to look like this, to be completely honest. Like I know that with webtoon you have to do it all in color, and that's a lot of work. But I would recommend maybe working on backgrounds, because the I mean, this artist is obviously very talented. And I like the use of colors, but it's just uh too many close-ups. Maybe, switch up the perspectives a little bit. Work on backgrounds, definitely work on backgrounds. And I guess it's just hard for me to really see how the comic pages would look, because it's just panel, 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 and not the whole
Mm,
comic page.
gotcha. Okay. What about you, Han? What do you think?
Um, Yeah, well, I would give it to them. They really did a lot of work coloring all the pages, and you can see that there is a obvious improvement from their Instagram. They posted a picture of their art in 2019 and then 2021, I think. And flash forward to now, they have made enormous strides when it comes to sequential art, but it's not there yet. It's really interesting. I was looking into the webtoon as well, where the bubbles, speech bubbles, are placed. Like many of them could improve in even like the placement of like where it is. There are a few panels in higher up where it was like covering up the character where it was really not supposed to be covering up the character. And when your background game is basically taking a picture from somewhere else and putting it into your um into your background. Yeah. um it's very hard to do and make it believable, because then you have to base your art based on the picture that you've got, and this person has not really mastered
Mm,
perspective yet, so it doesn't look like it's falling into place correctly. It's just look very
yeah.
stiff and quite out of place. It's not convincing, basically. So there's an art of taking shortcuts, and a lot of mangaka do it nowadays, where they would take pictures and then they use Clip Studio Paint or whatever tools that they're using to
Yeah.
simplify that background and make it blend into their actual background. That is absolutely fine. We all work to deadline and we need to find shortcuts, but there's an art to doing that as well, which they unfortunately surely has not mastered yet.
For sure. I mean, like Clip Studio Paint, there's brushes that will literally draw like grass for you. They'll draw bushes for you. There's brushes that create trees for you. There's brushes that even will take a model, right? It could be a model like a background, like a building, and you literally just trace over it. It's already there
Yeah.
for you. Like there's so many different things out there like digitally that just make the process of making a comic easier. Um but yeah, I feel like what you guys said, when you take something that's real and you try to combine it with a very cartoony style, you have this extreme clash of two different things. And I feel like oftentimes it just doesn't work very well. Now I will say like things like the movie uh Roger Rabbit, where they take a live action and they combine it with cartoon characters, that worked for that particular story.
Because they're
Right,
well
it worked.
integrated.
Yeah, they had like this noir kind of feel combining with cartoon characters, and they tried to maintain that. But like with things like this, when you're taking like a real picture and a cartoony image, and you're putting it together, it doesn't work for this particular uh, uh what they're trying to go for. But this person is talented. I would say maybe just keep working on just getting better at the art, um and as far as the pitch goes, trying to just break it down into something a bit more easier to understand, uh for people who have no idea what your story is about. But I will say they did really really good on their interview, so A plus on that. um and yeah, I feel like this person will be able to pitch us something that could have a higher chance of getting accepted next time. But that is The Process of Collapse. It's a very interesting idea. Thank you for pitching that to us. Let's go ahead and move on to our last pitch for this video. We've been going on for a really long time, but I feel like a lot of these pitches, there's so much to say. There's so much good things to say about these pitches, and I feel like
Yeah.
reviewing this is going to help you guys a
Yeah.
lot. So, um, yeah, I'm enjoying this process here, and I'm sure you guys are too. Um, but let's go ahead and let's take a look at this last one. This was a pitch that we accepted. You can see by the check mark. It's in our final 20. So let's go ahead and let's give it a look. Why we liked this pitch. It is called Death Upon the Witch by Beatriz Cornejo from El Salvador. And I have to say right away, I think I'm gonna have to give this to Christina because I know Christina loves witches. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this to her to read if you guys don't mind.
Thank you.
That's
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. So, Death Upon the Witch by Beatriz Cornejo. I have no idea. I'm butchering this name. I'm so sorry. From El Salvador. The pitch is D. Gray Man meets Blue Exorcist. And the plot. The story starts with the discovery by the police of a corpse. The body was brutally murdered by what seemed to be a demon commanded by a witch. In this world, supernatural cases are taken over by the Inquisition, a military and religious organization commanded by the Church. The protagonist, Belias, who is a half demon, and his superior are sent to investigate the case as inquisitors. People do not trust them, and they don't have a good reputation. Regardless, they always find the witch. While the superior is busy, Belias is sent to investigate by himself. He makes a sinister discovery during it and is attacked. A witch named Aria saves him before anything bad happens. At first, he thinks she is the culprit, but she explains she is also looking for the witch who broke the code, and she was sent by the elders. While Aria wants to join forces, Belias refuses and detains her, as every witch and inquisitor encounters must be put under investigation. He reports this to his superior, and they agree to meet at a construction site. There he discovers that the witch they were looking for was his superior, she was creating chaos to instill fear and respect to the people and make them more compliant of the Inquisition. They start fighting, Arya helps him, and they enter a binding contract that makes Arya his witch in order to defeat his superior. They manage to do it, and the story ends with them returning to the Inquisition and Arya unwillingly, comically going back with him. Okay. Awesome.
So what do you think?
I think, well, first of all, grammar. Maybe use a little bit, maybe, use a grammar tool, because I realized once I read this again now that there maybe, can be some misunderstandings when it comes to the story, that it's not really like 100% clear what the author means. But in terms of the story, though, I think it's great. I mean, look, I love witches. That's one of my topics. So I'm always interested in a good story regarding witches. And you seem to have, maybe this is something that Hans said earlier, that this person takes concepts that are well known to people and just plays with them. So, for example, you have the witch, well-known concept. You have the Inquisition, well-known concept. Even though, fun fact, the historical Inquisition did not hunt witches. That was not their duty, actually. But okay, that's just me geeking out about history stuff. But again, it's just clever, because we already, like, everyone to some degree kind of knows what the Inquisition was doing, to hunt down people who went against the church for one reason or another. And I also really like that this author really, walked us through the story. They explained what would happen in the beginning, in the middle, what is the twist. And I like the twist. I mean, it's not really that I expected that, but it makes sense for the story. And then they have an end, and it seems like this can also lead to maybe a series one day. Like, it sounds like a good pilot chapter, in my opinion. And yeah, I would just work on the grammar maybe a bit, because some of the parts weren't that clear to me.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Fred, Han, what do you think of this?
I can definitely see this as a short story. And I agree with what Christina said. And I'm very excited to see like the visuals of it all, because in my head, I can imagine it looking very, very cool. And I am hoping for like a very rich and detailed environment. I think something that's playing on the historicals could really use that, like how well Christina is doing with Grimheim. It gives so much atmosphere when you have awesome backgrounds in a historical setting.
I love the love. You guys are just sharing the love to each other, right? So sweet. So sweet.
Yes, we love each other.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome. How about you, Han?
I like it. I think it's always good when someone clearly tell you the story that you can follow. It doesn't mean anything there. One small criticism is that the first 5 lines of the story can probably be condensed down and told in a way that would shorten this pitch a lot, and people would still understand it. So it's just for future reference. If the person needs to pitch a longer story or pitch a series or something like that, then make sure that the pitch is a bit smaller, shorter. Very luckily, the team at Saturday AM absolutely took the time to read every single pitch, and they took the time to appreciate the story. But it's not always going to be the case. It's just a fact. So it's just a small criticism that it's meant to help the person in the future. But yeah, awesome. I do like it.
Awesome. Okay, so let's check out their art real quick. They linked us to I guess a one shot that they made.
I remember this one.
So it's really, can I say something? It's really smart that they do this as well. So Silent Manga Audition is a very well-known competition, very well respected. So the fact that they linked this is like a, to me, it's a bit like a silent flex.
Yeah.
I've gotten into this. Like
Totally.
and respect, So I know that my summer manga friend Eric Pedrucci, for example, did this several years ago as well. I don't know if he flexed in his interview with Saturday AM last year, but he certainly is still with us. So but yeah, really smart where you include your entry that has been in Silent Manga Audition. It really shows that you've done your research, you've created manga before, you have your experience, you've got some achievement there, and the art is gorgeous.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna beat about the
Yeah.
bush
Oh,
there.
this art is awesome.
Beautiful.
Like, it feels like a Japanese comic. It really does. The character design is awesome, and the paneling is just very reminiscent of just taking back, like, it's just taking me back to times where I just open a book and I just read manga. Like, this what is what that feels like. Um and I love the toning. This person knows how to draw anatomy well. They know how to draw faces very well. I love it. I'm super excited to see this person draw out their pitch for summer manga, honestly. Um and I could see why we ended up choosing them for our final to include in our final 20 people. They're just too talented. Obviously, no one's perfect. Their pitch, could use some work, but they're good to go. Is artistically, this is there. But did you guys have any other comments or anything that you'd like to say?
Everything has been said, so
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
They have absolutely raised the bar for themselves, so we're
Yeah.
all very excited to see them. So yeah, well done. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. And that was Death Upon the Witch by Beatriz Cornejo from El Salvador. Awesome. Okay, you guys. Well, I think that about does it for our 2023 view video. We did 2 episodes. If you guys didn't watch the first one, you can watch the first one that we will be posting first. Obviously. It was really cool to see all of the different kinds of pitches, all of the different kinds of ideas and concepts that you guys have. It's always super exciting, and the fact that you guys are just all over the world, that just creates another layer of interest, I feel like. And we really appreciate your guys' effort and just taking the time to pitch to us. Don't worry if you didn't get in this year. You could always try again next year, or you can, just do whatever you want and pitch to a different company. Who knows? But with that said, it looks like this call is about to end. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you guys next time. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and following Saturday AM on social media. Also, consider following our lovely artists that we had today on our video: Fred Torniger, Han Rivers, and Christina Ondebach. We have a lot of big announcements coming in the future as far as our company is concerned, so we hope you'll stick around to see what happens next here at Saturday AM.